A quick thank you to the T5 peeps, TheDragon, Datamagnet, Catcrab Lobster, DuckMachine, Astraya the Dreamer, Mezec, Feudic Jarl, and Casper Arnholtz. Thank you very much. Exoshell, written by loony123. Mon officially boarded the large transport craft of Argus, the last member aboard in the large group. While the majority of his band were of the more mentally gifted and strategically minded variety, a significant minority of the group were like him, physically capable. Maybe not as taught as they could have been, but educated enough in the field of battle. Unmarked, were kept close to their stations when not in battle, but Mon had earned his mark over a home orbit ago. This brought with it certain privileges and opportunities, which he was taking advantage of now, being assigned to the detail he shared the Argus with now. Even with that recent of a mark, the dozens aboard the craft guaranteed that there were more freshly marked aboard the Argus. They were easy to identify by the fact that they were bouncing more than the acceleration of the transport should cause, whether it be excitement, nerves, a combination of both, or some other private experience. Mon wasn't the only one to notice. So, don't look them in the eyes, Mon overheard someone ask loudly over the thrum of the propulsion. He quickly found the Inquirer, and even newer marked. He must have obtained it within the last 3 orbit tenths. What he chose to do with his very newfound privileges was up to him, but it was unusual to use them so soon after such an odd reason. Maybe he was a xenophile. More and more recruits tended to be. That's right, but you never know where their eyes are going to be. Every class of them has a different arrangement. Sometimes the eyes are close together up top, sometimes on the sides. A few classes have them on their backs too, explained what looked like some scientist sitting next to the newly marked soldier. Beside the scientist, another sat with her head turned away from the conversation, struggling to hold back laughter. Oh, not this right now, Mon moaned internally. The Argus had cut off acceleration a few moments ago, so Mon unfastened himself and pushed off towards the spot above the scientist and soldier locked in conversation. And don't gawk too much. They know how big they are. If they can catch you staring, they'll take that as a threat display and make a display back. I watched one of my colleagues get crushed beneath one of the first time he You! Stop it! Mon cut in abruptly. He, pointing a finger at the newly marked soldier, may be marked, but he's clearly new to this. Don't spread misinformation. The scientist rolled his eyes. Even if I've flavored my statements with lies, my advice is still good. He looked away from Mon and back at the soldier. Don't stare, that's pretty much it, and be careful around them. One of my colleagues really did get his foot crushed. Turned the front half into what amounted to liquid. The soldier's facial spurs spiked outward slightly at that tidbit. The female scientist sitting next to the two cut in as well. And it's not really that there's classes of them exactly, just different types. They have ranks, just not determined by their design. The soldier's spurs relaxed again, got a puzzled look on his face. What design? I thought they were alive, finished Mon. No, one of them you've seen are just their machines. To be honest, I've never seen a human in person. He eyed both of the scientists, who in turn also affirmed that they hadn't either, and with a quick jerk of their head backwards. See? Mon prompted a newly marked soldier. Path. My name is Path, he responded. See, Path. Even the fancy, experienced non-coms haven't even seen humans in person. You might want to just take about everything they say with some reservations. Still, though, you might have seen the human robots at some point in combat. But I know I have. They are huge, and if real humans are anything like them, expect something big with 2 arms and 2 legs. Even those two probably won't say that they have weapons inertly in their arms, though. He teased at the 2 scientists. Both seemed slightly annoyed at that, but at least the female scientist had a small smile at the jab. The Argus continued to float towards the human ship for some time. Members of the delegation moved about the transport, fiddling with equipment, talking with each other. A few taking advantage of the time to relieve themselves. Mon made his way around to a few conversations, mostly with the soldiers like himself. However, he eventually found his way back around to the area of Path and the scientists, who seemed to have continued their session of questions and answers. So, I get that they're robots, but how do they move? With motors and pistons and... No, I get that. But what's controlling it? You aren't from the car, are you? Path spurs flattened, embarrassed. Denona. Ah, well, the infrastructure should build on Denona in the next few decades. Anyway, you have to use AI, stored in each one. Controlling them all telemetrically would open up a lot of problems. Block the signals, hijack the signals, get into the robot and go backwards to the signal source. Just a whole bunch of issues that could easily be avoided with a locally stored AI. That would also be the reason humans don't like to share their AI technology, interjected the female scientist. If they gave what they have away, then it'd be pretty simple to find something to crack. It'd still be hard to actually do it in the field, but the chance would be there. So they just don't tell anyone, even if we offer them a lot of money, she finished with a murmur. At that moment, the deacceleration warning came, forcing everyone to return to the seats. It wouldn't be long until docking. Well, they were even bigger when you were standing right next to them. The tallest of the delegation stood slightly above their knees. Mon had never been this close to any of the human robots before, so he did take a good, long look, drinking in the details, before remembering his professionalism and turning away to look forward. It seemed Path, standing in front of him, had left his professionalism behind on the Argus, gazing slack-jawed at them. His head kept whipping back and forth at several surrounding the unloading zone the Argus had landed in. The one centermost then stepped forward, and a voice emanated from it. "Welcome to the USS Pathforger. Please follow me to the meeting area." At that, the robot turned around and started thunderously walking in a specific direction, the other robots seeming to herd the delegation to follow the leader. As they walked through the massive hangar filled with other robots, members of the delegation began to talk to each other. Path slowed down slightly and turned to face Mon, eyes wide. "The voice sounded so real, Mon. Their AI is really good," he reverently whispered. Mon smiled at Path's awestruck expression, giving him a friendly slap on the back. "Still just a robot, Path. Can't wait to see the real thing." As the group walked towards the large door, larger than even the robots surrounding them, the conversation picked up in apprehension. "So, what do you guess they're like? Bigger, smaller? I think they're probably a bit smaller than their robots," rattled off Path. Mon couldn't help but be affected by the tangible excitement. "Yeah, I can't really imagine them being any bigger than these monsters. I'd put money on them being a bit smaller." "Crazy idea, Mon." "Explain it to me before you call it crazy." "What if these are just suits?" "Nah, these aren't suits. I did fight with them a while back. One got their leg blown off. When it was being dragged back, I saw that it was just wires and metal. No trail of blood, nothing like that." "Why was it being dragged back if there wasn't anyone inside?" Mon shrugged at that. "You know how sensitive they are about anyone finding out about their technology. They probably just didn't want it falling into enemy hands, like what the scientists said," he finished as they reached the door and went into the next room. The hangar door slowly sealed behind them, the massive machinery powering it slightly vibrating the occupants of the room. Looking away from the enormous door to the other side of the room, most members of the delegation were thrown off by the other door. Specifically, it was much too small for any of the robots to fit through. "What in the name?" trailed off Path, Mon standing beside him blankly staring at the door. The robot that had led them to this transitionary room made a quite unexpected move by crouching down very low to the floor, almost sitting down. The others did the same. Mon could just overhear someone ahead of them in a small crowd ask, "What, are they going to crawl through the door?" Instead of crawling through the door, the robots spontaneously disassembled their chests, but all the delegation had thought a solid metal casing around the central components of the robots seemed to actually be layers of metal that were designed to open up. And, as it turns out, the central components were more biological than any of them expected. A human stepped out of the robot's chest and turned around to fiddle with the robot for a bit. Mon and Path simply looked at each other, both dumbstruck. Okay, so they are suits, Barth. I don't know how or why, but they're suits. What in the name of? Cutting Barth's exclamation off, all the robotic suits jolted to life for a moment, closing up the chest cavities. The lead human turned from the suit to face the crowd. I apologize for not greeting you face to face earlier, but rules require use of mech suits while in the hangar area. Now, if you please follow me to the meeting area, he finished, turning to the now appropriately sized door and walking through it. The crowd compelled now to follow. As Mon walked through the door, he found himself behind two scientists from Argus. The male scientist turned to the female scientist, a giddy look on his face with spurs spiked upwards. One, and you can bet our budget I'm going to try and make one. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you do, please consider supporting the author, even by popping over and leaving a thumbs up or a nice comment, just to show your appreciation for the story. However, if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below which will help immensely. I will see you all in the next one, and until then, I hope that you have a fantastic day. Cheers.